Yeah, so we were at high school, and we were saying that regardless of the situation somebody is in, or the age, or the limitations, at times we focus so much on our limitations. And of course, maybe your limitation might be age, your limitation may be a poor background, your limitation may be I am sick. So you're saying that regardless of the limitation, God does not use that. He does not use humanity in that scope. Because at times it's because I think we do a lot of focusing on those limitations until we are not able even to harness our full potential in life. So good. I want you to speak to a parent, a teenager, um, maybe even that single mother out there, or this father who wants to abscond his duties as a father, using your story and up to the point you were in high school. Were it not for the shift that happened at 13 years and you gave your life to Christ, looking back, how would your life have been if you never had Christ?
Most of, most of the time I say that it has been for the grace of God, and that coming, the word of God says that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, the beginning of knowledge and even understanding. So by the time I'm giving my life to Christ, it's like there is an eye that opens, and then you're able to see things clearer. But in every situation, for you to make a turnaround, you have to be willing. Yeah. You have to be intentional about it. As much as you've given your life to Christ, God won't impose things on you. It's you to make that critical decision and be non-negotiable about it. So what I would tell maybe a teenager who is going through the same, maybe you've been raised by a single parent, and sometimes you feel like your self-esteem is very low, is that there's nothing that God cannot do. And one thing that you're supposed to do is that see yourself where you want to be, and you are not to blame. You just found yourself there. You never contributed, you just found yourself. Yeah. But you can make that decision that I will not stay here. I want to make a difference in my life, because I also believe that one time maybe I will be a parent. What kind of a parent would you want to be? Would you want to repeat the same cycle? What happened? Yeah. What you've been brought up into? Would you want to bring up your children into the same thing? And at that moment, you'll be able to make an intentional decision, and by this you'll be able to choose your friends wisely. If maybe, for example, you're a girl, you won't entertain having boyfriends, you won't entertain having premarital sex, because definitely you know the consequences. If you start engaging into premarital sex, you'll end up having a baby who will also grow up like you. So when you're able to identify that, you'll be able to make those decisions which are non-negotiable.
Yeah, because I remember not using also drugs and substances to control the stress. Yeah. Because you had every opportunity. Like your case, you grew up with people who were even brewing. You had every reason to even have used those drugs to be able to manage the stress.
Yeah. What I would say is that the best thing is turning to God, because there's that peace that God would give. And even when you're going through a situation, maybe you are a young man and you feel like it's too much, when you go to God, God is not limited with age. We can see in the Bible, God calls people even before they are born. God starts working with people when they are teenagers. God starts working with people when they are older. Yeah. So God is not limited with age. If you just give yourself to God and surrender to Him, He'll be able to guide you through. Because most of the time, there are times that I talk to young people and I tell them, personally, I never got this kind of teachings. Like, God is the one who was counseling me along the way, because I never had such privilege. So I'm a testimony, and I can testify and say that there's nothing that God cannot do. If you are really willing and intentional about that, you will not be able to indulge in things that will keep you out of the way, because there are some things that young people get into. Maybe you get into drugs, wrong companies, you find by and by you find that you've already been addicted.
Yeah.
And once you are addicted, it will be hard to come from that situation, and then you find yourself in a worse situation than it was. And then you're not able to bring yourself out. And then to the parents, to the single mothers, I would want to encourage them that they are doing a really commendable job, because in fact I call them heroes. You know,
Yeah.
being able to stand at that most of them, maybe you found out that you're pregnant, and then the person who is responsible, the moment you told them and they were like, no, I'm not the one, and I'm not ready to be a father, and then you're able to stand up as a woman and stand in that
they are
gap.
in a crisis already, and they
Yeah.
get into another crisis of raising children of their own.
Yes.
So surely they are recommendable.
Yeah. And they
They are
already know the
heroes.
consequences.
They are great heroes.
Yeah. And they're able to go with it all the way. They know that this child will need this, and then regardless of the situation, they're able to stand on that gap. So you are great. All the single mothers, you are heroes. We celebrate you, and may God give you the strength, and your children will be great. The only thing that I would say that a prayerful woman, if you are a single mother, whether you are a single or not, prayer works. You're able to pray and declare things over your children, and then in time those things will come to pass. And then to the men, I would want to tell them that a father's influence is very important to their children, and it's very, very important that you be involved in the lives of those children. And if you feel that you don't want, it's good you start by before you do something. It's good for yourself, you ask yourself, am I ready to bear the consequences? Because by the moment I can't light fire here and think it would burn. So before you do something, it's good you think about it. When I'm engaging in the premarital sex or whatever kind of sex, there'll be a baby. Am I ready? You know, sometimes I hear cases that even people, married men, when their wives are pregnant and they cannot plan for it, they are raising issues, and then you are the person who was involved in that, and then you end up finding that the baby is already facing rejection, which is not really a good thing. So the best thing is that the changes that you want to happen in our life, they can only happen by our voluntary will, being non-negotiable about them, and knowing that nothing can limit us. And we can go to our highest imagination and be an impact even to the society. And before we get to the society, there is that part of you being changed. The people that you live with, when you have your own families, you'll be able to transform, and then you'll not be able that cycle will not repeat itself. It has to be a non-negotiable intention that nobody can change you. You know, when change comes from within, without cannot do anything, because you've already made up your mind. Yes.
Good. So just fast forward, we look. You went through high school, and what were the grade? Maybe how did you pass after high school? Did you go to college? Such things I believe the viewers would want to hear. They have not yet known where is Carol at this moment.
Yes. After high school, when I did my KCSE, I scored a grade C plain. And surprisingly, I was the leading I was the leading in that school. So when I went to get the results, you know, how people are carried, they're celebrated. That's how it was. So I think the headmaster was like, this girl, she's really a genius, with all the things. In fact, like, I was in school half for 2 years, and then for 2 years I was at home because of the times that I would stay at home because of lack of school fees. So in fact, I was a celebrant that time. Yes. When I finished high school with my grade, I wanted to do journalism and mass communication, and luckily I was able to join a church that was very radical. In fact, most of my belief system changed during that time. And my then pastor, he used to be called, he's Pastor Muigai. Today he ministers with House of Grace, Rwaka. He was very vocal about transforming people's lives, and in fact something shifted right there. And I started believing in myself. In fact, during that, by the time I was clearing high school, I never wanted to do anything with men. I was like, there was this, I don't know whether it was hatred or bitterness. I was like seeing, you see now my grandfather is gone, and now all the men that I would say, I was like, if a man can give birth to me and he just leaves me, what kind of a man is this? I remember there was a time a lady used to talk to me, and she was like, I don't see when you're interacting with the youth, you don't interact with the men. What is wrong? And I was like, this person is intruding in my circle, and I don't want. So eventually she talked to me through it. In fact, I didn't know by that time she was dealing with the youth. She was a lecturer at KIST. So she would be able to trace and see there's something that is not working. But she talked me through it, and I was able to overcome that. So during that time, I was able to believe in myself again. And so now I started seeing that different things. So there was that kind of life that I used to. So I was able to see, there's another life. So I would go to homes. I see people they have a bedroom. When I get to the sitting room, I don't see their beds, and I'm like, how do they sleep? Because I've never been used to this kind of life. And then something started shifting slowly by slowly, and I was able to see like, if it can happen to these people, it can also happen to me. And then by the time I was clearing high school, I had a school fees balance, and so we were also trying to raise the money so that I may collect my result slip. So I had to look for a job and help my mother clear the balance. And the first job I did was working as a house help. And so we had raised some amount of money, so I think we were only left with 1,000, a balance of 1,000. So what I did, I got the job. Then I talked to my boss. We had agreed that I will be paid 1,500. So I talked to my boss.
For a month?
Yes, for 1 month. I talked to her and I told her, please give me 1,000 in advance. In fact, and I had been there, I think, for 2 weeks. Please give me 1,000 in advance. I'll go and collect my result slip. Then by then month I'll be having 500. So she gave me, and I went to school. I paid, and when I went, there was another balance. But now the head teacher said, the other balance I will sort. So I paid the 1,000, and the other money that was given by my mom, and I was able to collect my result slip. So by the end of the month, I knew I'll have 500 shillings. So by the end of the month, I was told I was given 200, and I was like, where is the other money? And I was told, because we don't have children here, we'll not be able to pay you 1,500, we'll pay you 1,200. I accepted the money. I went to the bedroom and I cried, but I did not have an option, and I continued. And that was my first job. At least I know where my first salary went. I have the result slip with me. Then along the way, we were able to apply for a college at Kenya Institute of Mass Communication.
So you worked as a house help in that house for how long?
I worked for 1 month, then I was moved. She moved me to another family. To her, I think it was her daughter, whose house help left. So I was taken there. I stayed there for another month. So I worked for here 1 month, there 1 month. Then I was called home. So I went. I stayed with my grandmother was not well. I stayed
in Kitale.
Yes, I went back to Kitale. I stayed with my grandmother for quite some time. Then I came back. So when I came back, I needed a job. So I got another job also as a house help, but this time I was a day scholar. I would go during the day and then come back in the evening. And by that time I was living away from my mother. I started living with a family friend. They were it's a couple with their children. I stayed with them. So I would be walking there. I would be walking such distance. I think it was being paid around 20 bob by that time, and I would walk.
It's like how many kilometers from where you were living?
I think it was around 4 or 5. So I would leave early in the morning. I used to leave around 6. then I would get there by 7. So that by the
1 hour walk.
yes. But so that I will get there by the time the owner of the house is leaving. I would already be there. I would do my chaos, and when she comes back, I would leave there at around 4 and get back home at around 5. And that was it. And during this time, I had that desire of going to school. I really wanted to, because I think for me, seeing my mother do all the things, I wanted to be an independent woman.
Yeah.
I never wanted to be like I'll ever depend on somebody. So I wanted to have a career. And my lady friend who was teaching at a polytechnic, she asked me one day, by the way, Kara, what do you want to do? I told her what I want to do, and then she told me she has a friend who works at Kenya Institute of Mass Communication. We can write an application letter and then we drop it to her. So I went, and during that time I would go to her place and I would really cry, and she would pray over me. And then we drafted the letter. I left the letter with her, and she took the letter. Then immediately after I think 1 or 2 months, I went back to my grandmother's place, and I stayed almost for a whole year. So when I came back, I think it was on a weekend, and then I was told there is a crusade in our church. So I went for the crusade, and immediately I got there, everybody's asking, where did you go? Your letter for college came, and we looked for you everywhere, and we could not find you. So that opportunity went. So when I told my mother, she was like, how much is the school fees? And I was told I don't know whether it was 60 for the whole year or it was 60 for what. When I mentioned 60, she was like, no. Let's first of all make sure the others get to Form 4. And that was it. But deep down in my heart, I decided that no matter what, I will have to go back to school, even if I will go like ile na mkongojo, ile for self-satisfaction. Because I also wanted to break that cycle. I wanted to, as much as there are people most people in my family did not get to that level, I wanted to make sure I break that record and start another series for my children and all the generations that shall come. And that's how it went. I definitely did not manage to go back to school that time. Yeah.
Good. Now you've not gone back to school, so what did you do after that? And you didn't go back to your grandparents?
I got a job where I was selling or hawking. I was hawking cakes in Kangemi. I would take others in Dagoretti, and I did that for a year. And it kept me busy because I have an income. And what I used to do, the money that I was paid, I would get the salary, take the tithe, then the remaining I opened a post bank. I would deposit my money in post bank. Now I'm saving for school fees. And then another half I would send by post to my grandmother. And I did that for a whole year. Then I got another job where I was working in a chemist as a cashier. Now I'm being a promotion is coming.
From the house
things are getting better. There's a shift. But before we get there was a time. During this time, I've left house help. I've gone back to my grandmother's place, and I'm back. Then I was like, I really needed 100 shillings. I don't know what I wanted it for. And another lady told me there's a friend of hers who is looking for somebody to go and wash the clothes, and she pays 200 shillings. And I told her, please connect me. And that lady, I think, was told, and I was now to go in the morning. I went very early in the morning. When I got there, I was not given the job, and I was told that I think the house girl is back, so you'll not be able to do the washing. You go back, but I look for you somewhere else. In fact, that was like my lowest moment. Now where am I going to get the 100 shillings from? So when I was coming from that place now to back where I used to stay with this family, I passed through a stream, and at that moment I felt suicidal. I looked at that stream, ilikuwa flooded. It was during a rainy season. I looked at it, and something told me I would be better dead than alive. And you can imagine what I'm bargaining is nobody has beaten me.
Yeah.
It's because of 100 shillings. but because maybe of the things that I've gone through, I'm feeling that this is too much, and
I
then I don't have somebody to borrow.
It was a spiral of many other issues that
Yes.
just came up at that moment.
In fact, I have never told anybody. I felt suicidal, and I looked at this stream and I felt, I think, so because I know I cannot kill myself, I stepped in that bridge. It was a wooden bridge, and I stood there for some minutes, and I was wishing this one will collapse. And fortunately it did not. And I was like, Sasa, I'm going back. I'm not living with my parents. I'm living with a family. And even that 100, like, I did not. So I wanted, when I go wash, the 200, 100 I'll keep, do whatever I wanted to do. Then the other 100 I'll give to this, the owner of the house. At least someone gave me a contribute. And when I felt suicidal, I just stayed on that bridge. Then somebody passed by. So when I saw somebody coming, I left the bridge and I went. And I was feeling like I'm done, and I was feeling like I'm alone in the whole world. By that time, I'm not living with my mother. My other siblings, they don't know where I am. In fact, they knew I'm in a certain place, but they never knew who I'm living with. And I was so excited that everything shifted, and I'm now way much. In fact, I thank God every day that thing never persisted. And that's when I got now that job, when I was working in a chemist, and I worked there for quite some years. I worked there for around 5 years, and every time I was given a salary, I would tell my employer that please don't pay me this month, give them double so that I'll get more money after 2 months, and then I would get money, pay my tithe, and then put the other money in possible. Yes. And then there was issue of there was that time when people were buying Kenyan shares. I had saved quite a lot, and I was able to buy Kenyan shares worth 15,000. And in that chemist, when I was being called there, the place I was working as in a bakery, I was being paid 6,000. So in a chemist, I was told I will be paid 7,000. So it was quite an increase. So when I moved in the chemist, it was a new one, it was a beginner, and I was not paid 7,000, I was paid 3,000, and I kind of accepted because I was like, by the way, it's a startup, and things will get better. And therefore, for the period I worked there, I never received 7,000. I think the highest I got was 6,000. But I eventually by that time I was feeling very bad. But eventually I was able to learn that God had placed me there to learn some things, because it was a family business. It was being operated by a couple, and there are some family values that I was able to learn from them. Because personally, I had never seen a couple with their children, how they do things. But now, during the time that I stayed with them, I was able to learn so many things, and that lady would really encourage me. She's like kept wanting to know, oh, Carol, what is up? What are you up to? What do you want to do? And I kept telling her I want to go back to school, and she kept telling me, and even giving me examples of her friends who have gone back to school when they even have children. And it really kind of molded me. So the fact that I never got the money that I was supposed to pay, there's an aspect that was really good, and it really molded my character, and I was able to learn so many things and how things happen in a family. Yes.
So, Carol, you were talking about you've worked for 5 years in a chemist, and now you were able to, you kept saving money. So, because I know you are married, you have children, maybe you can tell us a little bit about them, and also your husband, and where you are currently.
Okay. Something interesting happened when I met my husband when we were serving God in different churches, and when he proposed to me, because of the things that had gone through and the things that were in my life, I felt that I'm not the right person. And one time during that time, before I told him yes, I took him to a place and we sat down for 2 hours. I told him about myself, who I am, and I was like, you only see a good girl. This is who I am. And then I asked him, are you ready to get involved with this kind of a person? And then he told me, yes, I am, because I'm not getting married to the family, but I'm getting married to you. And that's how everything started. We got married. Yeah, and it was a big wedding. In fact, it was the first one in our family.
Wow.
And everybody was celebrating. My mother really cried that day. I think she never thought she will ever give her daughter
For marriage.
And then when right here, there's something that really happened. When I got married at the age of 24, and I was the oldest to get married in our family. And not only in our family, even including my cousins, because most of them, they would get married at 17, 18.
Yeah.
In fact, by that time, people would like, are you okay? Is everything right? And most of them who would get married at that time, their marriage would not last. So definitely I never wanted that kind of life, and I was praying about it. And one time when I was in a certain church, a certain neighbor of ours said something that really turned something in me, that his father used to be a drunkard, and the father used to abuse his mother. And he prayed to God that when he'll get married, he'll never abuse his wife. And I said, oh, so things change. So when I said, I will never have a baby at home.
Yeah.
And I will never just get married just like that. I'll have to do it the right way. And na niombewe ndio hizi mambo zikataka. And it eventually happened, and I thank God.
Wow.
And it was a good thing, because I already had a desire to go back to school. I went back to school after I got married. After 1 year, I went back to school. I did a diploma in a certain college. Then I wanted to further my education, and it took quite a long time. I stayed for 10 years, and I still wanted to go back to school. I started looking for school, and eventually I got. I'm currently at the University of Nairobi. I'm doing public relations. But I had to start from diploma, because the other school I went to, I find out they were not accredited to offer communication courses.
Wow.
Yeah, but currently I'm doing well.
That I feel is a story for another day.
Yes.
I strongly feel we also need to understand the transition, the marriage transition. So we will be getting more into the story in our next video. But thank you so much, Carol, for sharing your story. And it has been, I'm almost, as I'm listening to you, I'm feeling moved. Looking at the faithfulness of God this far. And maybe just for the viewers, how long have you been married?
I've been married this year. November will be 13 years.
Wow. Already 13 years.
I've been married for 13 years. We have 3 sons. Yeah. Our firstborn is turning 11 this August. The other one is 6. The other one is almost to 3 years.
Wow.
Yes.
Thank God.
And you are doing well, and you're enjoying the faithfulness of God.
Wow.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Carol, for your being candid about your story. I believe someone out there is going to pick something from this. And my prayer is that regardless of that which is limiting you in your life, it may be a job, it may be the family background, it may be poverty, whatever it is, that God is going to enable each and every one of us to be able to overcome the limitation. Because I've realized what limits us a lot is that voice that keeps telling us that you are not good enough.
Yes.
You are not, you cannot make it. But the moment you come to the realization, connect with yourself, accept self, and once you've connected with yourself, then you'll be able to connect with God, who is the ultimate. He's the one who understands us. He knows us, why we are here. He knows why we were created. So definitely the moment we connect with ourselves and with God, He changes our story. And just like Carol's life has been changed, I believe your life will be changed.
Sure.
So God bless you so much, and thank you for listening to us.
Thank you so much. Nothing is impossible if you believe and if you're committed to that. Be fearless, be shameless, and create your own environment. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much.